Welcome to our channel book podcast. Expand your mind and transform your life.
Welcome to this deep dive. Today we are going to be exploring Tim Ferriss's Tools of Titans. You've given us a mountain of material, basically, this whole YouTube summary from the Matt Grateful channel. And we're going to try to make sense of it all.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack. What's really interesting is that we have all these different titans from, athletes, entrepreneurs, investors, artists, but you start to see all these like common threads throughout. And so what we want to do today is really connect those dots.
Yeah, so like initially I was kind of overwhelmed, right? You got Arnold Schwarzenegger's mindset for winning, Derek Sivers on success. Like it's crazy how much is packed in here.
Yeah, it really is. And I think one of the first things that really jumped out to me was, you remember how Arnold said he wasn't bodybuilding just to be fit, he was in it to win.
Yeah.
And you see that kind of singular focus in a lot of the titans.
Like they can cut through all the noise and just like zero in on what really matters.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's not just about, that kind of like brute force mentality, right?
Yeah.
Think about Mark Andreessen, for example, his red team concept. He actively seeks out people who disagree with him.
Oh, yeah.
To challenge his ideas. It's brilliant. Like you're almost like stress testing your beliefs before you take them out into the world.
I love that. Like surrounding yourself not with yes men, but with people who are going to push back against you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And here's another commonality that I thought was really interesting. So many of them talk about priming. Like Tony Robbins, for example. They're not just relying on willpower. They're actually intentionally creating the right physical and mental state for success.
Yeah. So Tony's whole morning routine with the cold showers, the breathing exercises, visualizations, like he's getting himself ready, not just trying to power through.
It really is. It really is. And it makes you think, like, what are the things that you do that help you kind of get into that zone? You know, like what's your version of a cold shower, even if it's metaphorical?
That is a great question. I'm going to have to ponder that one for a little bit. So it seems like they're really like hacking their biology, their psychology, to create success. It's not just willpower.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of hacking, another thing that they talk a lot about is saying no.
Oh, yeah.
Seth Godin in particular, right? He's, he really talks about the importance of being a meaningful specific, not a wandering generality.
Can you unpack that a little? I remember highlighting that and being like, what does he even mean?
Yeah, so he's essentially saying, you need to be very deliberate about what you choose to do. A meaningful specific is somebody who has a clear purpose, right? And pursues it with intention. A wandering generality is somebody who's just kind of like, all over the place, saying yes to everything and ultimately achieving very little.
So you're choosing to be like the author of your life versus like this puppet,
Exactly. It's about taking ownership, right?
Wow.
And deciding what really matters to you, because otherwise you're just going to get pulled in a million different directions.
I feel like it also goes back to that idea of being laser focused, not just on a goal, but on who you are,
Yeah, exactly. And that brings us to another interesting point, I thought, which is that it's not all about individual success. A lot of them talk about the importance of making the world a better place.
Yeah.
Will McCaskill, for example, givewell.org. It evaluates the effectiveness of different charities so you can actually be strategic and make sure your donations are really having an impact.
So not just giving money, but making sure your money's actually doing something good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's really cool.
Like that red team concept, but for altruism,
Exactly.
So, okay, so what does this all mean for our listener? Like, what can they take away from all this?
Well, I think, one of the big takeaways is that it's not just about like, here's a bunch of tips and tricks, it's really like a whole way of approaching life with intention, with focus, with a commitment to something bigger than yourself.
So it's not like become the next Tony Robbins or Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's like, what resonates with you?
Yeah.
From these first few titans.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest question to ask yourself. What really resonated with you and why, and what feels most relevant to where you are right now.
It's interesting how a lot of these titans, their paths to success weren't like, straight lines.
Yeah.
They took like these unconventional detours and unexpected turns.
Yeah, they weren't afraid to color outside the lines, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, Sophia Amoruso, she started Nasty Gal selling vintage clothing on eBay.
Yeah.
It wasn't like some big business plan or anything.
Right, just hustle.
It was pure hustle. Yeah, exactly. Just a knack for kind of spotting those unique pieces.
It reminds me of Ed Cook, the memory champion.
Oh, yeah.
And his whole thing about perspective.
The visualization technique where you imagine yourself as like this tiny speck in the universe.
Yes.
That was mind-blowing.
It's like you realize how much we get caught up in our own little worlds.
Yeah.
And we kind of lose sight of the bigger picture.
Yeah, for sure. So it's like a mental hack, right? Like a reset button.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of mental hacks, James Altucher talking about selective ignorance. Like, he just realized he was consuming so much negative news that he just stopped.
It's radical.
Yeah.
But it really highlights how important it is to be mindful of, like, what you're putting into your mind.
Yeah. It's like your mental diet,
It really is.
You wouldn't eat junk food all day.
Exactly.
So are we seeing like a theme here? Like they're managing their environment, their mental environment? They really are, yeah. And it extends to their physical health and fitness too.
Yeah.
You can't ignore the fact that a lot of these guys have, incredibly disciplined workout routines.
Jocko Willink, 4.45 a.m. every day, right?
It's intense.
Yeah.
But it clearly works,
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think it spills over, though? Like that kind of discipline?
I think so. If you can push yourself physically, you probably develop a mindset that carries over into other areas. But it's not just about, brute force either, right? What Laird Hamilton, the big wave surfer, said about variety in your physical activities.
That's trying new things.
Yeah, exactly.
Keeping your body guessing.
Exactly. Because, doing the same thing every day would get boring.
Yeah.
So it's about finding what you enjoy, what works for you. And it doesn't have to be a solo thing either, right?
Yeah.
Remember Gabby Reese and Laird Hamilton? They trained together.
Yeah. It's like a shared experience,
It is, yeah.
Probably helps with motivation and accountability.
Yeah, exactly.
Plus, they seem to have a lot of fun. But it's not just about aesthetics. It's not just about, performance. It's deeper than that.
Right. You're absolutely right. Peter Attia, the longevity expert, really emphasized that, we need to understand our biomarkers.
Yeah.
And take proactive steps to actually improve our health span. It's not just about living longer, it's about living better for longer.
So almost like a data-driven approach to your health and your well-being.
Exactly.
So we've got them physically fit, mentally strong. Now we're talking about longevity. Like what's the secret sauce?
Well, I don't know if it's a secret sauce, but I mean, a lot of them talk about meditation,
Yeah.
Yeah. Whether it's, mindfulness or transcendental meditation or whatever.
Yeah.
They all have these practices for cultivating that inner peace and clarity.
Do you think that helps them deal with the craziness of the world?
Yeah.
Because they're all like high achievers.
I think so, yeah. I think so. It's like having an anchor,
Yeah.
when everything else is just swirling around you.
Yeah, for sure. It's like tapping into this strength and resilience that maybe we don't even know we have.
It's possible, yeah.
But what about when we're dealing with difficult emotions,
Yeah.
Like do the Titans have any advice for navigating those rough waters?
They do. In fact, a lot of them actually talk about, facing those emotions head on, not trying to avoid them.
Yeah.
You remember Tara Brach's RAIN technique?
Oh, yeah.
Recognize, allow, investigate, and nurture.
It's like a roadmap, a guide for dealing with those tough emotions.
Exactly. And it's a reminder that we don't have to be afraid of those emotions, It's okay to feel them.
Yeah, they're a part of being human.
Exactly. And it's what we do with them that matters, right? And this kind of brings us to another important theme that runs through Tools of Titans, and that's relationships.
Yeah.
Right? You can't really talk about personal success without talking about relationships.
So much of what they've built is based on these strong relationships, both personal and professional.
Absolutely. Brene Brown, her work on vulnerability and authenticity, being open and genuine in our interactions, even when it feels scary.
Yeah, like that idea of true
And
connection, right?
yeah,
Like you have to let go of the mask and be seen.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's also about setting boundaries,
Right.
right? And being
Yeah.
clear about your needs.
So healthy relationships are built on respect, on understanding, and that's all kinds of relationships, right?
Yeah.
It's not just romantic, it's friendships, family, even professional
No,
networks.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about surrounding yourself with people who support you, who challenge you, who inspire you.
Yeah, for sure. And they also talk about like being present in those relationships, really listening, giving of your time and energy.
It's a two-way street.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just what you can get, it's what you can contribute. And sometimes that involves forgiveness, right? Like we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
You got to be able to move forward.
You do. Yeah. Holding on to grudges is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Whoa.
Right.
Okay. That's a good one. So we've covered a lot of ground. We've talked about mindset, physical, mental well-being, relationships. It seems like they have this like holistic approach to life,
Should we do?
focusing on all aspects of their being.
And that brings us to something that I think is often overlooked when we talk about success.
What's that?
Work.
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
They're not just sitting around.
They're not just sipping margaritas by the pool all day.
So they have a lot to say about finding work that's meaningful,
They do.
Yeah.
And they're not afraid to take risks.
Yeah.
And really pursue their passions, even if it means, going against the grain.
So like they've found a way to align their work with their values, with their purpose.
Yeah, I think so. Which probably makes it feel less like work and more like an extension of who they are.
Yeah, totally. But what about when things get tough,
Yeah.
How do they deal with setbacks and failures?
Well, one thing that I think is really interesting is that they have a very healthy perspective on failure.
Yeah.
They don't see it as like a reason to give up.
Right.
They see it as an inevitable part of the learning process.
So you can't have success without setbacks.
Right. It's all part of the journey.
Yeah, but it's not just about accepting it, right? It's about learning from it.
It is, yeah. They're constantly experimenting, they're iterating, they're looking for ways to improve. They're never satisfied with the status quo.
They never settle.
Right. But it's not just about working hard, it's about working smart too.
So they're always looking for ways to be more efficient, to be more effective.
Yeah.
Like they're leveraging tools and techniques to streamline their work.
And they understand the power of delegation.
Yeah.
Asking for help.
Right. You can't do it all yourself.
You can't do it all yourself. Exactly.
They've really mastered that art of team building.
Yeah.
Leveraging the strengths of others.
Yeah.
What about the people who are, really driven to create something of their own?
Yeah.
Is there any guidance for aspiring entrepreneurs in tools of titans?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, so many of these titans are entrepreneurs themselves.
Yeah.
They've built successful businesses from scratch. So, they have a ton of knowledge to share about, taking risks, building a brand, creating a thriving company.
It's like they've cracked the code to innovation, to creativity.
And they're not afraid to break the rules, right?
Yeah.
Forge their own path.
Yeah. But it's not all about making money, is it? Like there's a deeper purpose there for a lot of them.
I think so. They're passionate about their work. They want to use their success to give back to their communities.
So it's like their work is a vehicle for something bigger.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a great way to put it. They're role models for how to live a life of purpose and meaning.
Yeah.
And they remind us that success isn't just about what you achieve. It's also about who you become along the way.
So it's about living a life of integrity, compassion, generosity,
It is, yeah. Making a difference,
Yeah.
Leaving a legacy that matters.
Yeah, speaking of legacy, like the Titans, they have a lot to say about how we can create a lasting impact. Like, what do you want to be remembered for?
Yeah.
And then actually take action.
Don't wait for permission.
Yeah.
Don't wait for someone to tell you what to do. Go out there and create the change you want to see.
It doesn't have to be some grand gesture, right? It can be small acts of kindness every day.
Yeah.
Being present for the people you love, making a difference in your community, living a life of meaning.
It's about realizing that, we all have the power to make a difference, no matter our circumstances.
Yeah.
And it's not about waiting until you're old and wise.
Yeah.
You can start now.
Right now.
Yeah. What step are you going to take today?
It's pretty amazing how these titans, they manage to do so much, achieve so much,
Yeah.
but they still seem to, prioritize their well-being.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not magic or anything, but they do seem to have, figured out a few things about maximizing their energy and their focus.
Yeah, like, remember Kevin Rose, the tech investor?
Yeah.
He talked about using a blood glucose monitor
Oh, yeah.
to track his levels and adjust his diet accordingly.
It's like a data-driven approach to your health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of guessing, he's like, let me get the data and optimize.
Exactly. And speaking of optimizing, a lot of them also swear by journaling to kind of process their thoughts and emotions.
It's like having a conversation with yourself on paper.
And it is.
Like Tim Ferriss even shared a journal entry where he was, wrestling with a tough decision.
Yeah.
And by writing it out, he was able to kind of get clarity, make a more informed choice.
Yeah, it's a great way to untangle those thoughts and feelings. And sometimes it can even lead to those like aha moments, those breakthroughs.
It makes me think about all those times where I felt stuck or overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Maybe a journal is what I'm missing. But what about those times when it's not just like our own thoughts and feelings? What about those tricky interpersonal situations?
Yeah, well, the Titans have some wisdom to share on that front, too. Remember Alain de Botton, his perspective on anger?
Yeah.
He suggests that, when people are being mean, it's often because there's something else going on.
Right.
There's an underlying reason. And it's a really powerful reminder to approach conflict with empathy.
So easy to just, get caught up in your own reaction. And you forget that everyone's going through something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, maybe that person who cut you off in traffic is just having a really bad day.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Doesn't excuse it, but it does help you understand it better.
Yeah. It's like choosing to see the best in people, even when they're not showing you their best side.
Totally.
Yeah.
And speaking of seeing the best, it's inspiring how many of these titans emphasize making a difference in the world,
Yeah.
whether it's through philanthropy, activism, or just being a good human.
Yeah.
They're all committed to leaving the world a better place than they found it.
Yeah. They recognize that success isn't just about personal gain. It's about having a positive impact on others. Will McCaskill's work on effective altruism is a great example.
Yeah.
He encourages us to be really strategic with our giving, maximize our impact.
And his website, givewell.org, is an incredible resource
Oh, it's fantastic.
for finding charities that are actually making a difference.
Yeah, it takes the guesswork out of it.
Yeah, it's like almost like that red team approach, but to
Well,
philanthropy.
Exactly.
Or not just going with your gut, you're using the data.
Right.
Right.
But giving back doesn't always have to be, like a grand gesture or a huge donation. Sometimes it's the small, everyday things that really make the biggest difference.
Yeah, for sure. Like, remember Mark Bustos,
Oh, yeah.
the hairstylist who gives free haircuts to the homeless?
Yeah.
It's so simple, but so powerful.
It's a beautiful example of using your skills and talents to make a tangible impact.
It's a reminder that, no matter what you do, no matter what your background is, we all have something to offer.
We do. We do.
It's about finding those opportunities to bring a little light, a little joy to the world.
And, and it's not just about those grand gestures. It's about the ripple effects.
Yes.
Like that smile, that kind word, that helping hand,
Yeah.
it can have a profound impact on the people around you.
It's like the butterfly effect, but for kindness.
Exactly. And it brings us back to this idea of interconnectedness.
Yeah.
We're all in this together, and our actions, no matter how small they seem, they matter.
So it's not just about, making the world a better place. It's also about finding that joy and meaning in our own lives.
Yeah, absolutely. The Titans, they remind us to, savor the simple things, cultivate gratitude,
Yeah.
live with intention.
So it's about creating a life that's successful but also fulfilling.
Yeah, exactly. A life that's aligned with your values and your purpose.
And you know what? There's no one formula for getting there.
Right.
That's what's so cool about Tools of Titans is that it shows you all these different paths,
Yeah.
all these different people,
Walk is a life.
different backgrounds.
Different fields.
But there's this common thread.
There is.
There's a passion for what they do and a commitment to excellence.
And they're all about pushing boundaries. Yeah.
Challenging assumptions,
Yeah.
creating something new and beautiful in the world.
It's pretty inspiring stuff.
It really is.
And I think that's the key takeaway for our listener, is that this isn't about, comparing yourself to the Titans or feeling like you have to achieve the same level of success.
Right.
It's about taking those nuggets of wisdom, those insights from their stories, and applying them to your own life.
Yeah, it's about finding what works for you.
Yeah.
Creating your own definition of success and living a life that's meaningful and authentic.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of tools of Titans, remember, you have the power to create the life that you want.
You do.
The Titans have shown us what's possible.
Yeah.
But it's up to you to carve your own path.
It all starts with a single step.
Yeah.
What step will you take today?
That's it for this deep dive. We hope you're feeling energized and ready to take on the world.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.